Okay, so this is our deep dive, and we just want to jump right back into our topic, which we've been talking about the Sabbath and about how important it is to create spiritual rhythm. And one of the places we can point is all the way back to the book of Genesis, where God placed in the garden a tree. And he said, listen, Adam and Eve, you can do whatever you want, you can go wherever you want, but I'm going to put a limit here. Mm-hmm. A limit around this tree. This is the one tree that you don't eat from this tree, okay? Just leave it alone. In other words, what God was saying is, listen, there's all kinds of things you can do, but there is a limit on life. He set that for us in the garden. And even more than that, there is this pattern, even in the garden, of kind of working and resting, of activity and then inactivity. And all of this is there present. There's fellowship. There's, time to name the animals. There's all these different rhythms, right, that are present there. But I think the key is understanding that even from the very creation, limits were present. And the attempt to live a limitless life robs us of the beauty of a Sabbath.
Yeah. Very good. So that's sort of a foundational principle that goes along with what we talked about in the sermon. And we really wanted to jump in this deep dive session to a little bit more practical. How do you work Sabbath into your life practically? Because we've talked about that a lot as a couple, as a family, and I think it's a great conversation piece for you in your home and even in your own life. And so we just wanted to throw some principles out that have helped us and that we're still working through as well. And so really, you have to start with a plan. Yeah. You have to plan to have a day off. As we all know, it's not just going to happen. It's not just going to fall into place, and you're not going to find a 24-hour chunk of time that there's nothing on. And so the Israelites actually, the Jewish people still have a day of preparation for the Sabbath. Yeah. And again, that can feel like even more burdensome. And oh my goodness, now we have to have this whole day of preparation and the Sabbath. But really, it's about intentionality. It's about, if I'm going to pause then, in our context, if I'm not going to go get all my groceries and do my errands on my Sabbath day, which maybe is Sunday, I'm going to have to do that in advance. Right. I'm going to have to do it on Saturday.
That's right, yeah.
And reasonably, you probably can do it on Saturday. You just have to plan for that.
Right.
And so you plan the things ahead of time so that you can rest.
Yeah.
Just like you plan for a holiday, right? You don't just get up and go on a holiday. You make reservations and you organize things at home first and you pay your bills and arrange someone to feed your cat and whatever. You have to plan in order to have a Sabbath.
That's right.
I read a great book about the concept of Sabbath. It's actually not a Christian book, but it's called 24/6. And it's a Jewish woman who wrote this book. And it's about the concept of her family Sabbaths from technology. They rest for a whole day, and they do the Friday night to Saturday night, sundown to sundown, as the Jewish people do, but it's about technology. And they actually go so far as to install a landline so that they don't have to use their cell phones. They rest from screens. And she's been doing this for 10 years. So it's worked. It works for them. And she actually said it's her teenager's favorite day of the week. Yeah. And they incorporate a lot of the things we've talked about, but they plan ahead by saying, if I have to drive somewhere I don't know or pick up a child from a destination I don't know on the Sabbath day, I'm going to, in advance, print off a map for it. Or I'm going to print off a recipe instead of saying, well, I just have to go on my phone and grab that off Pinterest. So
they use records, right?
Yeah.
They play records instead of doing their playlists on their phone.
Yeah.
They have had to be intentional about the plan, right?
Yeah, so a little bit of preparation so that you can rest.
Right.
So there has to be a plan in place.
Yeah.
I think second is what do you do with your schedule? Like how does that work with schedule? We've talked a lot to a lot of people about post-COVID, how are we going to keep some of the new things we've discovered in COVID about the rhythms and about we've actually enjoyed the pace in some ways. We have enjoyed the pace, actually, that's slower. And we know that, it feels like there's this lingering reality that's going to come back of all the things we have to get back to, and life is going to be just as frantic as it was before COVID. And that's actually a fear that I live with in some ways of like, how do we not get back to that? And so as we've been talking about it, the thing that has come up for us is about intentionality, and again, it's about planning and scheduling, putting the big pieces in first into your schedule. And so what I mean by that is the values that you have that are the most important, you schedule them first, right? You're going to schedule your rest and your Sabbath first before you fill your schedule in with all the things, the birthday parties and the activities and the dinners and the invites. You can actually say, with, without feeling bad that I actually have plans on that day because I have plans to rest. So you don't have to feel like a jerk when you say, I can't come to your thing.
Exactly. No.
Because you have plans.
You have planned your schedule. That's right.
Yeah. So it's about putting big rocks in first.
Yeah.
And, we use the same concept with money, where it's like, we don't spend all our money and then hope there's some left at the end to give to the Lord. We set aside our tithe first, and then we spend the other 90%.
Yeah.
And so it's the same idea as we're going to put the big pieces in first, and Sabbath needs to be one of those, and then we fill in the rest of the week with all the other things that certainly can fill up our week.
Well, and to that point, you know, even if you're careful to read the Ten Commandments where it talks about the Sabbath, it's a Sabbath to the Lord.
Right.
Very much like your tithe being a gift, an offering, or a part of your giving to the Lord.
Yeah.
And so it's very much the same. And so that's why you put the priority upon it. And I think one of the things that would be important to recognize here is that when we talk about Sabbath, we're not talking about a day off. Right? A day off is a time where you restore your energy so you can be more productive in the other days. Now that can happen on a Sabbath, but that's not the goal. The goal is to enjoy the presence of God. It's not just inactivity, it's activity. Right. It's not just like a holiday where you, forget about all your problems and push everything away. It's actually a very intentional process of being renewed in the presence of God, as we discussed in the sermon.
So, you have to be intentional. That's another point here. It all kind of goes together. You have to have a plan. You have to schedule things in the priority order, and you have to be intentional. We know it's not just going to happen on its own, and it's not just about a day off. It really is about honoring God. It's really about trusting Him and saying, I'm going to align my life with the values that I claim to live by.
Yeah.
This is a way to outwork your faith, just like your money is a way to outwork your faith. Your time and your money are your two biggest commodities in life that we have.
Yeah, that's right.
And so those are our most precious resources. And these are both ways we can honor God in practice and not just in speech. And so you have to add the right things in and not just continue to take things out. And that's going to require intentionality. And so, we talked about that. You add in things that are creative. You add in things that are going to bring delight. You add in things that you love and that are life-giving to you. And so that requires intentionality. You might have to plan. Hey, we talked about, this spring, let's make it our mission to go visit a new beach or a new, oceanfront spot every weekend or every week. Let's see as many as we can. And that's going to require some intentionality from us, right? We have to look up places and get some maps and figure out where we're going to go, ask around. And so I think that's an important piece, is being intentional. That delight and the contemplate we talked about, those require intentionality. They're not just going to happen.
Yeah. And I mean, the goal here, and Lisa, you can wrap up after this, but the goal here is that you would feel inspired. Yeah. That the Sabbath is actually a beautiful thing and so much fun. And it's God honoring, but it's good for you. It's fun for you. And so Lisa and I have really harnessed that. There's times where we Sabbath and we go like, that was so good. This was just such a good day, full of good food and good experiences and intentional moments and godly conversation and worship and prayer. And it's beautiful. And it'll fuel you. And
so good.
But it takes intentionality.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last thing we'd want to say is just to be flexible. And that goes back to us talking about not being legalistic. Don't let this become a burden that you carry or a chain around your neck. But make a plan, try some things, evaluate it for your own family, for your own rhythm, for your own schedules and work schedules, and see, is this working? What do we need to shift? Maybe we need to add something else in. Maybe we start smaller and we start with just technology or just screens, and then we add in other things. And so add in meals and different pieces. Try some things, see how it feels for your family, and be free to evaluate it and to be flexible with it. But the flexibility has to go with intentionality, because if you're just so flexible, then our human nature is going to take over, and we're never actually going to do this at all. Right. So it's this balance between being strong and disciplined and intentional and saying, I'm going to give myself grace too. And if it's my mom's birthday on my Sabbath, I can still go celebrate with her. I can break my own rules, I'm allowed, I make the rules, I can break the rules. And so you fit in what makes sense for your family and you be flexible with it.
Yeah, and I mean, is it possible that you could go to your mom's birthday and it still be your Sabbath?
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
If you're going to host like your toddler's birthday party with 25 children in attendance,
don't do that on your
that's
Sabbath.
Probably not a Sabbath.
Right,
so
right.
it's not about the birthday. And this is an important point, is Jesus, he's the one who broke the Sabbath and the Pharisees were appalled.
Right.
But he's like, it's about the heart of the matter. It's not about the rule. And so don't get stuck on the rule. The heart is about people. And so go enjoy a birthday. Do what you want to do that brings you joy and delight and that can fix your eyes on Jesus. So this is going to be good for us. If we do this, we're going to come out different. And this is a revolutionary way to live. But I'm excited for us as we start this journey in our family and continue it in our family. But as we start together as a church, how this could really change us post-COVID, where we don't go back to the frenzy pace. We start a new rhythm that really is centered on Jesus.
Let's do it, guys. Let's do it. Okay, we love you. Take care. We'll talk soon.